and welcome to 4,000 and counting. I am Watty, and today I am joined by Luke Fisher from the Elite League as we look ahead to next week's playoff finals weekend in Nottingham. Luke, how's everything going? Thanks for coming on. I'm sure you're a busy man right now.
No, you're all good. Thank you for having me. It's exciting, right? Because we have the playoffs starting on Friday, and actually the fact that everything went down to last weekend was really cool as well. Like trophy, seeding, last playoff place. So just a bit of time to catch our breath, put the final things in preparation for playoff weekend. But looking forward to this weekend starting as well.
As a member of the league, how exciting is it when it does come down to that last weekend? It's kind of what you want when you're running a league or you're involved in a league. You want it to be competitive all the way to the end. And this year it finished one game before the end of the season.
Yeah, you can't really ask for anything more than that, right? Because like two teams playing for the league title, but also happen to be playing each other, which makes it a perfect TV game. I mean, we had plans in place, believe me, for if Guildford had won and it had gone to Sunday, because then two teams could win it. I mean, we have one league trophy, that's not a secret. And what are we going to do and where are we going to take it? But we had things in place. We had banners in places in case we needed them in one place or the other, and flights and things that then didn't need to be used. But so that was more of a headache thinking about what could have happened than what actually happened.
Yeah.
But then even like the thing with playoffs, that Glasgow watching on to see if Fife could go and beat Guildford, and even Sheffield and Cardiff were still going for seeding on Saturday, and then the Panthers going to Manchester and winning, and then Manchester going to Nottingham and winning to get seeding. Like, you can't, obviously it's sport, you can't script it, but you can't ask for anything more than that, because it just proves that everyone always says this in the Elite League. It's a hard thing to get your head around, but you're playing playoff hockey from September. Well, you are, because now we came down to those final days, and every result and the previous 53 rounds mattered.
Well, every import I've had on here that's come over to the Elite League, that's kind of what's been explained to them.
Yeah.
I was like, and in fact, I said to Matt Petgrave when he came on, I think he came on the week after they lost 2-1 at home to Dundee. I said, you might have just fucked your season. And he went, what? It's like one game. I said, yeah, a Tuesday night game at home to Dundee is a game that the Sheffield Steelers aren't allowed to lose. And like we talked about it, and I was like, because it could come down to 2 points at the end of the season, and you let's start looking back. You go, oh, we lost to Belfast here. Shit happens. Oh, we lost to Guildford here in Guildford. Shit happens. We lost to Dundee at home twice. We lost to Fife at home. And then you go, that's where that's where the league title's lost.
Yeah, and you see that now. So like we're just doing the final parts of the program for the playoff finals weekend, and the season reviews are in there, and you can see it when people go, Guildford lost to Nottingham in the first league game of the season.
In OT, right?
That one, I think, might have been regulation. I can't remember. But anyway, it was something they dropped way back in September. Well, that affected going into Belfast. Gary Graham eventually got fired for the start he had in Nottingham, and that was one of the few wins I think they'd had, certainly league-wise. I said, yeah, it all, when you start looking back and you start thinking, yeah, maybe that was the game that happened or that didn't, and that wrote them out. I know for the imports and for any foreign people looking at our league, it's a bit of a head spinner, but it's completely true.
Because we all, as players, we all say playoffs is notoriously the big one. But realistically, it's 4 games. It's not the big one. It's a 54-game slog to win the league title. If you're Belfast, yeah, you might be expected to go into this weekend and continue on the form that you've been on since Christmas and win the title. But in a 4-game format, anybody can take charge. I mean, I'd be worried to play the Coventry Blaze right now. I think they're 10-3 since the trade deadline. That's crazy.
But that's what makes, I think it does make it exciting in its own way, right? It's that it is that aggregate scoring. Look at Fife going to Sheffield with a 1-goal lead in the cup semi-final. And a lot of people say, oh, well, 1 goal, they've done all right. I remember reading some social media of people saying probably needed to be 2 up to have a chance. Then they let 3 in the first period, so they're down 2 on aggregate, and they come through it. Like,
yeah, that was crazy.
Just this format does lend itself to that. I mean, last year, Dundee went to Sheffield and won 1-0. Then came back home, let in quite a few, but somehow got it back. Like, it's such a different format to play 6 periods. And I know from when I worked in the Champions League, that was an even more strange and abstract format to teams, because we've played this aggregate scoring in the UK for quite some time.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't in other leagues. You just don't play aggregate scoring. So when they came into the Champions League format for their playoffs, you think that they were really trying to get their head around this 6-period, 120 minutes doesn't actually matter tonight. But if you have one terrible period, you are done.
Yeah, you could be done.
I think it makes it super exciting. And yeah, you're right. Like Coventry's form since the middle of February has been pretty incredible, and anything can happen. Really, anything can happen. You look at these and these matchups, you're like, all right, Sunday's going to be interesting.
Well, if you look at the National League, Leeds quite rightly won the league, top of the league by a good few points. They're in the cup final against third place Peterborough, expected to probably. I think when we did our predictions, I think I had Leeds by 3 over the tie. They win the home leg 6-0 Peterborough. 3 goals in the first period. I think, like you say, and all of a sudden it was like Leeds' biggest defeat going into that week in the entire season was 3-1. 4-1. It was like, it was real tight. And all of a sudden, they got 6 shit past them. And that left them with everything to do going back to Leeds. Granted, I think they won the game in the end 6-2, one of the goals being an empty net. So it does show that even like a team, Leeds were very close to pulling that back. I mean, it was 6-1 at one stage, one more goal, and they could have pulled that back. Is there any ties this weekend that get you the most excited? For me personally, I'm most excited by the Blaze and Cardiff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one, there's a lot going on in that one as well, because both teams effectively have 2 starting netminders as well.
Yeah.
So who goes in? Do they switch
that
it
Hungarian kid is legit, by the way.
I mean, I've seen Miklos Reiner quite a lot from when
Is that his name, is it?
Well, Miklos Reiner in English, but in Hungarian, then the reverse name, so Reiner Miklos.
Okay.
And I've seen him when he played in Fehervar have some like amazing games. Then I've seen some less good. I mean, it's goalies.
Okay, yeah, it's goalie, yeah.
But I think certainly those 2 not having to play every game has really helped them. It's the guys from the commentary said it, that Hossa not having to play every game now, this has clearly brought out the best in him. So that's quite an interesting dynamic. Like Manchester Sheffield is an interesting dynamic because there was a game it was a Wednesday game. Can't remember when it was. It must have been start of March, late February, where Manchester beat Sheffield in Manchester.
It was the last game those boys have played against each other.
Yeah, and that was the game where you probably say Sheffield lost the title, because it's like what you said about the midweek ones. It wasn't the fact, okay, mathematically it was losing to Belfast, but dropping those points in Manchester just put them down. And it was the same last season that Sheffield went there and I think they lost on a shootout, which set up Belfast being able to mathematically win the league then the following weekend. So there's beef there, I think it's fair to say. But it's great for crowds because we've also, in the way it's kind of worked out, the geography is good.
It has been this time,
Coventry, even Nottingham, Guildford, Sheffield, Manchester, like the geography to travel and actually see the games is really good. And okay, Belfast was always going to be the geography.
Yeah, but even Belfast, Glasgow is not bad. You got boat options. You got boat options. You can fly from Glasgow Prestwick. Yeah. Pretty straightforward.
That's pretty exciting because the crowds have been really good especially since the turn of the year and since the international break. And then
over 1 million this year, eh?
Over 1 million in totals is amazing. Awesome. Especially when you consider that this is realistically the first proper season after COVID now, because last year we had certain regional restrictions and things like that. So to have completely gone up, I mean, that's really good. I think for me, the one, it's maybe a weird choice then if you have to ask me what I look at, it's the Panthers Guildford, actually.
Their games have been really close.
They've been really close. And if you look at where did Guildford drop the league, probably that shootout loss at home to Nottingham.
Yeah, I think they ended up 4-2 on the series versus Nottingham, including like OT games here and there. But like you say,
it's
a couple of points dropped.
Everyone talks about Corey Nielsen, being a master at these short formats, and he has had a lot of success in these short formats. That's one where if you look at the standings, you would probably go, okay, 2 versus 7. But I wouldn't, to me, it wouldn't be a huge surprise either way.
Okay. I think for me, even though their games have been close, I don't think Nottingham have been good enough this year. I think Guildford are going to get the job done. hopefully I put the prediction video out before I put this video out because I should have done that, but I think we probably will. Yeah, I think Guildford for me. Plus, obviously, I played for Guildford, so
That's true.
I've got to stick with them. So the weekend itself is obviously about 10 days away now. Is there what's the kind of big plans for like off ice and stuff like that? Big 50-50, I'm sure there always is at these events.
Yeah, so there's for sure the 50-50 shirt off the back. We're sort of going through the running order of I'm going to call it the show. Basically, that's my used to work for Eurovision, but it is a
Yeah, I
show,
know.
right? It's a show. So just because I would say the guys in Belfast did a really great job on the
It
cup
was
final, like really good.
fantastic.
They did a great job last season, and then this season they definitely went one more. But obviously there are certain things they can do in their venue that can't do in Nottingham, but sort of to take some of the good things from there and just work out how we can sort of build it up. And also, you do actually want to get on with the game. That's the other thing. Like
Yeah.
you want to get everyone hyped up, but then you don't want to spend 15 minutes doing other stuff. So just to make sure all the timings look good and things like that, and especially with that first game, because if we don't get the first game away on time, the 7 o'clock game, everything pushes back. So
Yeah.
just some good planning on those. I heard from the arena yesterday that they're actually planning to have some things out in Bolero Square as well.
Okay, cool.
So hopefully, like, let's cross our fingers for good weather and stuff.
That would be nice.
Can be an outside event because that's always really cool when it's outside and it's hot, but you can be outside and get food and things like that. So yeah, there's quite a few things going on. Like we released that video the other day, sort of with the 8 teams, and then this is like the first of, let's say, a series that we will then have those going into the 4, into the 2, with some different clips and things. So like planning it a bit more, just taking a bit more control of like the show and the concept around it.
How's all the team, like your team, all the guys you've got working with you? How are they? They ready? They must be excited because this is like the biggest weekend of the year for the league.
Yeah, and the big thing this year that we didn't have last year is we can actually go in on Friday and start setting things up. So
you set up on Saturday
last year they had because we had to move the season a week.
Oh, of course you did, yes.
Because of all the COVID cancellations. The arena had an event on the Friday night, so they had to do an overnight turnaround.
What a nightmare.
So the first time we actually went in to start setting things up was on Saturday morning, and that was not ideal. I mean,
squeaky bum time, big time there.
Yeah, so actually being able to go in on Friday and have everything set up, and it also means the teams have ice. So if they want to skate Friday and things like that, it makes it better. It was necessary evil last year, but just that is probably the biggest thing that makes us a bit less nervous.
Yeah.
I mean, excited, of course, but when you think of the things you need to get in order, just having a day or an afternoon to set it up.
Well, there's some stuff people probably have never actually known, and I didn't. But this is the first I'm hearing of it, that you guys were running around on the morning of trying to get set up. But also, as you say, like with 40 plus cancellations due to COVID, the league getting postponed a week. Nottingham's a busy arena. It's always gonna have shows and stuff on, and that makes sense. With the format being the way it is, and like we say, anyone can beat anyone. Teams do affect ticket sales, don't they? So whoever qualifies obviously affects ticket sales. The way it is right now, with no one guaranteed, how are tickets gone?
Yeah, so we're looking quite good on the tickets. More, I think, this is not going to surprise anyone, but if we were to compare this back with 2019, it's more in that ballpark. Like, we can see that people are probably waiting to see who gets there. And I think that's fair enough. Year. It's obviously this year we put the tickets on sale a lot earlier. We put them on sale back in November, which we had never gone that early before. So the gradual increase was obviously slower rather than us putting them on sale in February and seeing. Exactly that. So it's been more gradual, but hopefully that's worked for people and given them the chance to go buy them, when it makes the most sense for them. So yeah, just you can obviously tell that if certain teams get there will be a big spike in certain teams. But again, I think that's the same with anything. Like
sport, isn't it?
You ask Manchester about their tickets for Friday night. Well, as soon as they knew they were playing the Steelers, they probably went up quite a lot because Sheffield's not that far.
Yeah,
it's just how it is. But I completely understand why people would wait and see who's going there. Like, it's a big commitment.
Well, especially getting hotels and flights maybe or
And if you I think for a second, if you're coming from Belfast, you probably have that all lined up and from Scotland. But if you are Coventry, Nottingham, Sheffield, Guildford, to an extent Cardiff, that you could do it there and back in a day, or you
yeah,
could sit there and stay somewhere else a bit out and go back again. Like probably would wait and see if your team is there, or just who the four are. Maybe it's not your team, but you look at the four and go, okay, that's tasty.
it's going to be an exciting weekend. It's going to be good. I think whatever the on ice product this year has been very good. So I don't think it really matters who qualifies in terms of how that final four is going to be. I think it's going to be good hockey. It's going to be intense.
Oh, I think so. I think just you always see from sort of January the games go up again. I would say the international break this year, if
Love
you look
it.
at the games that came after it, I think there was a noticeable
Love it.
upturn in it. Just giving everyone that option to reset in the middle of the season and maybe get people healthy or just do something else for
Well, I
a
know
few
like a
days.
few of the boys went to like Malaga, sat in the sun for 4 or 5
Couldn't
days.
I wouldn't know about that, but
But no, but you know what I mean? They did
yeah.
like, or some of the other lads went and played a bit of golf for 3 or 4 days up at St Andrews or whatever it is. When you're grinding through a season, you're turning up to training every day, you're going to the gym every day, you're fucking injured and hurting. Just to have like 5 days off or whatever it is because don't get me wrong, you're probably still going to skate at some point. You're probably still going to go in the gym at some point, but that's optional. You've got the option just to rest that body up and be fit, ready for this running.
And obviously the national team players played through
Yeah,
that, and I know Fife and Dundee played a couple of games against each other during that as well. But yeah, for me, just because I'm probably one of the few people that sees like every game, because I legitimately do see every game on multiple screens.
yeah.
I think certainly from you could tell when we came back, I thought people looked refreshed and a bit more energized than maybe if it would have been had we not had that break. But I mean, who knows? It could just be my gut feeling.
Yeah. I picture you, what you up there in Prague Towers watching everything going on, like just
I
games
mean, I have
flying.
multiple screens, yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
I maybe will have the commentary on one or two, but in general, yes, I have multiple screens here, and I just have all of them.
Is that just so that you're like up to date as soon as things happen, you're ready to go?
Yeah, it's because we're cutting a lot of the video during it, so
Okay.
I can cut live. And yeah, it just sometimes you think this will be the most exciting game of the day, so you'll watch that. But actually, the most exciting one that ends up being 8-goal thriller or something is something completely different. So
Yeah.
I can just focus on which one I think's more enjoyable at the time.
I think yeah. So obviously we talked about ticket sales. Last year, ticket sales weren't the best ever due to the price. I think this year, the fact that you guys offered an early bird and a concession was a smart move and smart to look at yourself and go, maybe we got that a little bit wrong. And yeah, here we go. Straight away, changed it, offered that early bird, offered that concession. Do you think obviously you guys have had a lot of surveys and stuff back? Do you think that's been appreciated by like the fans that have bought tickets and stuff so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it was important that someone actually spoke about this rather than just sort of it being dry. And I think what Todd said was completely true, first of all. And, I think everyone knows when Todd speaks, he means it, right? And yeah, like we can't do this without fans. And the decision from last year was probably too much, too fast in light of everything else in the previous 24 months. And I think people did appreciate him just saying, holding up and going, yeah, as board, we got this wrong. You can't. Well, it was obvious. Like, unfortunately, it was
just by the
obvious.
numbers, yeah.
People voted with their feet, as Todd said, and so yeah, bringing back the early bird, bringing back the concession ticket, was the right idea. And I think, yeah, in the end, you sometimes you just have to be honest about it and go, messed up. And exactly as Todd said.
So when are you getting up to Nottingham? Are you going to be there a couple of days early, getting yourself set, or?
Yeah, I'm coming in on Thursday in the evening, and then we'll go to the arena on Friday morning and start setting everything up. A lot of the stuff that we've prepared will all be delivered either the day before, a couple of days before, or comes in on the morning, and then guys will come in and do the board wrap later on. I think we have ice for the teams to skate on on Friday as well, for those that want it. So everything will start feeling quite real. I mean, I went to my suitcase just it was a few weeks ago just to look at last year's program, and I opened my suitcase up, and I found a couple of things in there that was like, oh, I haven't opened this since I took off
Since
the
last
phone out.
playoffs.
You know, just some like wires and cables and things that have been in there for 12 months.
Yeah, obviously didn't need them.
No, apparently not. Or I just replaced them. I think
That's
I
probably
thought I'd lost them.
that's probably more like it. Are we going to have all the mascots there again this year? Because obviously they were there last time I was there, and I thought like the kids loved that. It was great having
Yeah, I believe so.
these teams
The
mascot.
teams are organizing their own mascots. So yeah,
Cheerleaders again.
I believe so.
Yeah,
Cheerleaders.
that's good. Always good. It's always good for cheerleaders. They did a great job out the front last time. You talked about like doing stuff outside, like the mascots and the cheerleaders outside did a really good job at getting fans interacting with people.
Yeah, this is a weird one actually because I remember this with the cheerleaders. I'd never really thought about it so much, but I had to bring the trophy onto the ice last year at the end. So Mike Hicks was standing there ready to present it, and so I walked it out on the carpet, and the cheerleaders were standing either side of the carpet, sort of doing their thing, and I was like, "Oh, this feels really fun!" Like walking
All up with it.
underneath
Yeah.
the cheerleaders. No, everyone that's there, like the mascots, the cheerleaders, they do an awesome job, and certainly like the stuff we're going to build for the screen and things, it all adds to the experience, which I think that's the big part of it as well.
Um, what about like media and stuff like that? Are you going to have like media mornings or like where players are going to come out and you guys are going to get to clip some stuff together and get everybody else interested? Obviously, now that we're doing more YouTube stuff, something that we're interested in, and as just the world generally moves to a more content based like platform, obviously, is that going to be getting done by the Elite League? Are we going to have access to chat to players? How's it going to work?
So yeah, I mean, for Friday, if teams are skating, it will depend who's skating, when they're skating, what they want to do. The way we normally work it for the games is that we have mix zones, so immediate interviews afterwards. I'm from other projects and stuff, much more a fan of just having a mix zone, having people do them interviews as they come off.
Good idea.
Because it's quicker and it gets it done rather than guy goes to the locker room, we do our post-game debrief, then they come out. I think it doesn't look great if they're not in jerseys or something, or like team gear. If they're just like in their sweat gear, it looks kind of weird. So I just prefer that. So we get that done, and then we do press conferences for like together. So it's a combined press conference, both coaches after each. So after the semis and after the final as well.
That's great.
So that's kind of what we have on plan. This is also fun for me because this is most of the year. It's teams, right? So I can't be at 10 rinks. So teams are doing their own content. This is one of the few times, this in the cup final, where it's like, okay, I've got content now.
Yeah.
Like, obviously teams are doing their own, but we can actually generate our own, which is part of the fun.
Yeah, I love it.
But you got to also remember these guys are playing playoffs,
of course,
to win. So that I can't have everyone available all of the time.
No, obviously,
because coaches don't like that as much.
No, and you'll find some guys are more inclined to want to do the interviews. And I play with players that I don't think I've ever gave an interview in their entire career. I played for 15 years and I've never spoke to anybody. I play with other guys who, oh yeah, I'll do that, no problem. I'll jump on, I'll talk. Don't mind being in front of the camera. Don't mind being in front of the mic. Obviously, it's a little bit different now because, 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't like YouTube content as much and, short 60-second clips. But fans love it and they want to see it and they want to hear it. They want to know the stories. They want to know how people are feeling after certain events.
Yeah, it's that delicate balance of taking people behind the scenes, but also giving like the athletes the privacy that they want. Because there are just certain times, like we've done some good things this year with Viaplay on the live games, filming in the locker room before when the guys are taping up before warm up, which is great. And it shows you something you don't normally see, but obviously coaches don't want them in there after warm up.
No, of course they don't.
Game. So you just got to find these times that it works to show more things, but also realize that, ultimately they've got game to play.
Well, this is these guys' job, and this is a pinnacle for many of the players winning a playoff championship with their boys in front of their fans, and in 7 other teams' cases in Nottingham's ice rink.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. Like that's an incentive. We've got to come to your rink to play the playoffs. We're going to win, and to be able to do that with your pals yeah, you're going to be dialed in for the weekend for sure. Right. Is there anything else you want to tell the people before next weekend, or should we let you go and catch up? Well, next week.
Yeah, so all I say is like if you're on the fence about coming, if you've never been before, do it because it's such a unique experience. You don't get this in so many other sports, maybe rugby league with like their Magic Weekend, but certainly in hockey, it's a rare one to have an event where you've got all 10 teams fans in the same building at the same time. So yeah, it's a competition. Yeah, people want to win, but actually the atmosphere is very unique and it's very fun. So the first time I went in 2019, I mean, that's the first time I'd ever been to a playoff finals weekend, and I thought it was awesome. Like, you
That
can't,
was my first as well.
yeah, it's really hard to get it over what it's like, but it is really good.
It was so much fun. Even my missus loved it, and that should tell you everything you need to know. I can't even get her to go to fucking Basingstoke, and it's a minute from the house. So, and she was all over it.
Yeah, there's that, and then a completely non-elite league tangent.
Go on, what you got for me?
I need to talk about Carl Lennon.
Do it.
Because that's where I grew up watching hockey, and he was a player when I was growing up, and he's obviously come back as coach of the Dynamos and led them to winning a cup, and now led them into the playoff final, which is just, I'm really happy for him, because he was always like, when I was like 14, 15 when I was doing stuff there, and he was always really nice to me and really fun to be around, and I'm really happy for him to be having success now as a coach.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and it's nice to see him, Victor, back in and amongst the trophies. It's been a hot minute since they've done that. And since he's stepped in, they've definitely been on the upward trajectory, and long may that continue because it just makes that league so much better when you've got a good Invicta side.
Yeah, it does.
Right. Guys, well done if you made it through that. Well done to us for making it through that. We had lots of internet connection issues, but I'm super excited. Everyone at 4,000 Encounters is excited to be there. We are buzzing to get you guys some more YouTube content. With that in mind, make sure you hit subscribe right now. Turn that notification bell on. Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And we will see you again for an interview with Kieran Long tomorrow. Peace, guys.